The iron doors groaned as they opened, echoing through the long, dark hallway. Ethan's wrists were bound with glowing chains, heavy and warm like fire against his skin. 2 alien guards pushed him forward, their armor clanging with each step. The air smelled of smoke and strange flowers, and with every step closer, Ethan felt his heartbeat race faster. The guards said nothing. They only hissed under their breath, their eyes glowing faintly in the dim torchlight. Ethan had heard rumors. In the prison camp, rumors of a chamber where no human ever returned alive. They called it the Forbidden's Chamber. Now he was standing before its door, his stomach twisting with fear. The guards shoved him inside. The door slammed behind him with a thunderous boom. For a long moment, the room was silent. Ethan stood still, breathing hard. The chamber was wide, with stone walls covered in glowing alien symbols. Strange vines crawled up the walls, pulsing with blue light like veins filled with fire. At the center stood a throne, carved from black stone, sharp and cold. And there she was, the alien princess. She sat on the throne, dressed in a gown of silver silk that shimmered as if made from moonlight. Her skin was pale with a faint glow, and her long hair fell like a waterfall of dark silver strands. Her eyes, bright violet and unblinking, locked onto Ethan the moment he entered. For a second, Ethan forgot to breathe. She was beautiful, but her beauty carried danger. Every part of her seemed designed to tempt and terrify. "You are the human," she said at last, her voice calm but heavy with command. "The first chosen for this ritual." Ethan frowned, his voice rough. "Ritual? What do you want from me?" The princess slowly stood from her throne, and the air in the chamber seemed to grow colder. She circled him, her footsteps soft on the stone floor. "My people are dying," she whispered, her words low but sharp. "Our blood is thinning. We are fading. My father believes the answer lies in you." Ethan clenched his fists against the chains. "Me? Why me?" She stopped in front of him, her violet eyes studying his face as if searching for weakness. "Because humans are strong, resilient. Your blood carries something we no longer have. You will begin the breeding with me." Ethan's stomach turned. His body stiffened. He wanted to shout, to refuse, but the way she said it left no space for denial. Still, he forced the words out. "No, I'm not your experiment." The princess tilted her head slightly. Her lips curved into something between a smile and a warning. "You think you have a choice?" She leaned closer, so close he could feel her breath. "Refuse me, and the guards will cut you down before you can blink. But accept me, and perhaps you live. Perhaps we both live." Ethan's throat tightened. He could see it now, the truth in her eyes. She was not fully in control. She was bound by duty, by law. She needed him, but she also feared this as much as he did. The room grew silent again. The glowing vines pulsed brighter, filling the chamber with a strange rhythm, like a heartbeat. Ethan felt as if the chamber itself was alive, watching, waiting. Princess turned away and walked toward the wall. Her hand brushed across the glowing symbols, and suddenly one of them flared to life. A circle of blue fire appeared on the floor, surrounding Ethan. "This is the mark of bonding," she said. Softly, "If we step inside it together, our bodies will be linked. There is no escape once it begins." Ethan struggled against the chains, his breath quickening. "You can't force me into this." The princess turned back, her eyes burning brighter. "You think I want this?" Her voice cracked, the calm mask slipping for the first time. "Do you think I dreamed of this fate? I am no freer than you, human. If we fail, they will execute us both." For the first time, Ethan saw her not as a cold alien ruler, but as a prisoner in her own palace. She stood tall, but her hands trembled. Her beauty now looked fragile, desperate. Ethan's heart pounded louder than the pulsing vines. He knew he was trapped. Yet something inside him shifted. The danger was still there, But so was something else, an unspoken pull between them, like two storms colliding. The princess stepped closer, her gown brushing softly against the stone floor. She lowered her voice to a whisper. "Step into the circle, human, or watch both our lives burn away." Ethan stared at the glowing fire encircling him. He could hear the faint murmurs of guards outside the chamber door, waiting for results. His chest tightened as his mind raced. Was this his death? Or the start of something far more dangerous? The princess extended her hand toward him, her violet eyes fixed on his. The chamber pulsed again, louder, as if the walls themselves demanded an answer, and with his heart hammering in his chest, Ethan realized whatever he chose, nothing would ever be the same. The blue fire circle still burned around Ethan, its glow flickering like restless lightning. The alien princess stood before him, her hand outstretched, her violet eyes unblinking. The silence in the forbidden chamber pressed heavy on his chest. Ethan's mind screamed at him to refuse to fight. But something inside told him that stepping back meant death, his, and maybe hers. Finally he spoke, his voice rough. "You say this is survival, but I see fear in your eyes. What aren't you telling me?" The princess froze, her lips parting slightly. For the first time, her calm mask slipped again. Her fingers tightened at her side before she whispered, "The truth is dangerous, human, but so is silence." Ethan clenched his jaw. He was tired of being dragged like an animal, tired of being treated as nothing more than flesh. "Then speak. If you want me to risk my life, I deserve to know why." Her gaze softened, but only for a heartbeat. She turned away and walked back to the throne, her gown trailing like liquid silver. When she sat down, her voice was louder, carrying through the chamber with authority. "You are here because my father ordered it. He believes the blood of humans carries what our kind has lost. Our children are born weaker each season. Our warriors fall faster, and our empire crumbles. The breeding ritual is his command." Ethan's stomach twisted. "So I'm just a tool to keep your people alive?" Her eyes locked onto him again. "No, you are the first test. If you fail, they will kill you. If we succeed..." She paused, her voice lowering to something darker. "Then I become more than a princess. I become the future queen, and you become mine." The words struck Ethan like a blade. The princess said it not with warmth, but with a sharp edge of duty. Yet her eyes betrayed something else, a flicker of doubt, maybe even longing. Before Ethan could answer, the chamber doors rattled. Harsh voices echoed from the hallway. The guards. One shouted, "Your Highness." The council grows impatient. "Has the ritual begun?" The princess's expression turned cold again. She raised her voice so it carried beyond the walls. "Tell the council their will is being carried out. Leave us." The voices faded, but Ethan knew the guards lingered. Nearby, listening for weakness, the princess rose again, walking slowly toward him. Her presence was both commanding and unsettling. She stopped just inches from him, close enough that Ethan could see the faint shimmer of heat radiating from her skin. "You are trapped, human," she whispered. "But so am I, do you understand now?" Ethan searched her face. Beneath the royal command, beneath the sharp words, he saw a woman carrying chains heavier than his. She wanted this no more than he did. Yet she had no choice. "You want me to breed with you," Ethan said slowly, testing the words. "Not because you chose me, but because you were ordered to." Her lips tightened. For a long time she said nothing. Then, finally she whispered, "Yes." And no. The answer made his chest tighten. "What do you mean?" She leaned in closer, her voice so soft only he could hear. "I asked for you." Ethan's breath caught. He hadn't expected that. "Why?" Her eyes glowed brighter, catching the blue firelight. "Because the others would have broken. I saw you in the camp, the way you fought to live when all others surrendered, the way you endured pain without screaming. You are stubborn, defiant, Alive, that is what I need. The words struck him like a storm. All this time he thought he was just another victim, chosen at random. But no, she had watched him. She had chosen him. Ethan felt heat rise in his chest. You've made me a pawn in your game. The princess didn't flinch. No, human. I've made you my chance. The vines along the walls pulsed brighter, filling the chamber with strange humming energy. The circle of fire tightened around Ethan's feet, almost pulling at him. He tried to step back, but the chains held him in place. The princess extended her hand again. The ritual cannot wait any longer. Choose now, stand with me, or be crushed. By those outside, Ethan's heart pounded. His mind screamed at him to resist, but his body betrayed him. The pull of the circle grew stronger, and her violet eyes seemed to pierce through every layer of his fear. Yet even now, he saw the trembling. In her hand. She was terrified too. This wasn't only about empire, or survival, or power. This was about her. A princess forced to share her body and fate with a stranger. Ethan's lips parted, but before he could answer, a loud crash shook the chamber. The doors rattled as if someone tried to force them open. The guards shouted in panic. The princess's eyes widened. They're coming sooner than I thought. She seized his wrist, her grip strong and desperate. Step into the circle with me now, or everything ends here. Ethan looked at her, at the glowing fire, at the trembling walls. The moment of choice had come, and deep inside, he knew whatever path he chose, it would not only change his life, it would change the fate of two worlds. The chamber shook with the pounding of fists against the iron doors. The guards shouted outside, their voices sharp with impatience. Ethan's heart hammered inside his chest, every beat louder than the banging. The blue fire circle around him blazed brighter, its glow climbing higher like living flames. The alien princess stood at his side, her hand gripping his wrist tightly. Her violet eyes burned with urgency. There is no more time, she whispered. If you don't enter the circle with me, the guards will storm in and cut you down, and me with you. Ethan pulled against her grip, his voice strained. You expect me to just step in? To bind myself to something I don't understand? Her lips tightened, but her voice broke with rare honesty. Neither do I. The words stunned him. She, the feared and flawless princess, admitted weakness. She looked away, her silver hair falling across her face as she spoke softer. I was taught the ritual since childhood, but no one has ever performed it. It is older than our empire. They say it was forbidden for centuries, too dangerous, too unpredictable. Yet now, my father demands it. Ethan's eyes narrowed. So even you don't know what will happen. Her hand trembled against his skin. No one knows. The fire circle suddenly pulsed, and the vines on the walls responded, glowing brighter, filling the chamber with a strange humming sound. Ethan felt it vibrating through his bones, pulling at him. The princess stepped forward into the circle. The fire curved around her ankles without burning, swirling like liquid light. She turned back to Ethan, her voice steadier now, though her eyes still betrayed fear. The mark of bonding was meant to fuse two beings into one fate. Their strength, their blood, even their memories. Shared. If we complete it, we live. If we fail, the circle consumes us both. Ethan froze. The thought of sharing his mind, his blood, his very self with her, it terrified him more than death. But the banging at the door grew louder, and the voices outside grew harsher. Your Highness, enough delay, a guard roared. If the human resists, we will drag his corpse to the king. The princess's face hardened at the threat. She extended her hand again, her voice sharp now. Choose, human. Die alone or live bound to me. Ethan stared at her hand. His chains glowed, and he felt the pull of the circle like a tide dragging him forward. He thought of the camp of the other humans who had died with no chance to fight. He thought of survival as stubborn refusal to break. Slowly, He stepped into the fire. The instant his foot crossed the boundary, the flames surged upward. Heat rushed over his skin, but it did not burn it, sank into him, crawling through his veins like molten metal. He gasped, stumbling, but the princess caught him. Her hand pressed firmly against his chest. The circle roared alive. Blue light rose around them, spinning faster and faster until the chamber walls blurred. The vines screamed with light, and the symbols on the walls flared so bright that Ethan had to squeeze his eyes shut. "Stay with me," the princess shouted, her voice echoing inside his skull, not only in his ears. Ethan's eyes snapped open. Her face was inches from his, her violet eyes glowing brighter than ever, and then he felt it dot her memories. Flashes of her life rushed through him like lightning. He saw her as a child, standing small before a throne, her father towering above. Her with cold eyes. He saw her training, bleeding in the palace yard, told again and again that she was not a daughter but a weapon. He felt her loneliness, the way every smile she wore was a mask. Ethan stumbled, clutching his head. What is this?" "The bonding," she cried, her own body shaking. "It has begun." But it wasn't one-sided. Her eyes widened. As she staggered back, she saw him. She felt the hunger of the camps, the chains that had cut his skin, the bitter taste of dirt when he was forced to crawl. She felt his rage at the aliens, his hatred, his endless fight to stay alive when others gave up. Her lips parted in shock. You carried so much pain." Ethan gasped for air, his chest burning. "And your life is not a crown. It's a cage." The light grew blinding. Their voices merged, echoing inside each other's heads. The circle screamed, as if the walls themselves were tearing apart. And then silence. The flames died down, leaving faint smoke rising around them. Ethan collapsed to his knees, gasping. His chains were gone, burned away. The princess knelt beside him, her silver gown scorched at the edges, her violet eyes wide with disbelief. The mark of bonding now glowed across their wrists, an identical symbol, like two halves of the same pattern. Ethan stared at it, his voice rough. What have you done to me?" The princess touched her wrist, her fingers trembling. "No, what have we done to each other?" Before Ethan could answer, the chamber doors finally burst open. Guards flooded inside, weapons raised. But the moment their eyes fell on the glowing mark, they froze. Fear spread across their faces. One dropped his spear, whispering in panic, "It's true. The ancient bond. She has completed it." The others looked at Ethan with horror, as though he was no longer human, no longer separate. The princess rose to her feet, standing tall, her voice sharp and commanding once more. "Tell the king," she ordered. "The ritual is complete. The human is mine." The guards hesitated, bowing their heads in fear. Ethan's chest tightened. The ritual had bound them. He was no longer a prisoner, but neither was he free. And deep inside, both of them knew the real danger had only just begun. The guards backed away from the chamber, their armor clattering as they retreated in fear. None dared to look Ethan directly in the eyes. The glowing mark on his wrist pulsed like a heartbeat. Its light answering the same mark burned into the alien princess's skin. Ethan staggered, his breathing uneven. His body felt strange, stronger, sharper, but heavier too, as if something foreign now lived inside him. He touched the mark and winced. The moment his fingers brushed it, he felt her presence inside his head. Her voice echoed, not from her lips, but from within his mind. "Do not fight it, human. The bond has begun." He snapped his head toward her, his eyes wide. "Stay out of my head." The princess's violet eyes flickered with unease. She raised her wrist, showing him the same mark. "I cannot. Nor can you. What I feel, you feel. What you remember, I remember." Ethan's stomach twisted. Memories of his suffering in the camps, the hunger, the beatings, The smell of burning flesh flashed like lightning. Her face paled as if she were the one who had endured it. She trembled, whispering, How did you survive this?" Ethan looked away, clenching his fists. "I didn't have a choice." The silence between them grew heavy, broken only by the hum of the glowing vines on the walls. Outside the chamber, the sound of marching boots echoed faintly. The guards hadn't gone far. They were waiting, watching, ready to drag him away if the princess failed. The princess stepped closer, her silver gown brushing against the scorched stones. Her voice was low, almost fragile now. "You do not understand, human. If we cannot complete this bond, they will kill us both. My father does not forgive failure." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "And what does completing the bond mean?" Her lips tightened. She turned her face away, hiding something. "It means surrender. Two wills becoming one. Two bodies becoming one." Ethan's chest tightened. He could hear the nervous tremor beneath her royal tone. She wasn't only commanding him, she was afraid of her own words. "You want me to give myself to you," Ethan said bitterly. "To let you take me while your father watches from his throne." Her violet eyes snapped back to his, sharp and wounded. "No, not for him, for us, do you not see? We are trapped in this together. If you fight me, we burn. If you surrender, we live." Ethan stepped back, shaking his head. "You speak of survival, but all I hear is chains." The princess froze. For a moment, her regal mask shattered. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "And what do you think this crown is, human? Do you think I am free? I was born with chains heavier than yours." The bond pulsed suddenly, and Ethan felt in her pain. Memories rushed into him, nights spent alone in the palace, the weight of her father's cold stare, the endless drills until her hands bled. He gasped as if the wounds were his own. Her lips trembled. "Now you know." Ethan's anger faltered. The bond forced him to see her not as a monster, but as a prisoner, like him. Still, the fire inside him refused to be silent. "What happens if we finish this?" Ethan asked quietly. The princess swallowed hard. "Then nothing can break us apart. Our strength becomes one. Our lives, our blood, our fates, forever bound." Ethan's voice was sharp. "And if I refuse?" Her eyes darkened. "Then the circle consumes us. It burns until nothing remains. Not even ash." The chamber grew colder. The vines dimmed, as though the room itself held its breath. Ethan looked at her, at the trembling hand she kept pressed against her wrist. She was fierce, dangerous, and beautiful, yet behind it all he saw a woman drowning in duty. Desire warred with fear inside him. He could feel her emotions bleeding through the bond, her heartbeat quickening, her breath uneven. She wanted him, but she was terrified of wanting him, and worse. He felt the same. The princess stepped closer, so close he could smell the faint sweetness of her skin. Her voice softened to a whisper. "You think I do not fear this? You think I wanted you in my chamber, chained and angry? No, human. But fate has bound us. And if we must fall, I would rather fall holding you than kneeling before them." Her words struck deep, cutting through his defenses. Ethan's pulse raced, his breath ragged. He had sworn never to bend, never to surrender to his captors. Yet now, surrender no longer felt like defeat. The bond pulsed again, harder, pulling them together like gravity. The chamber walls shook, cracks splitting through the stone. Outside, the guards shouted in alarm. The princess pressed her palm against his chest, her violet eyes searching his. "Do not fight me anymore, if you want to live. If you want us both to live, then trust me." Ethan's jaw tightened. Trust. The word felt heavier than any chain. And then the chamber doors rattled violently. A deep, booming voice roared from beyond. "Princess, end this now or we will." The princess's eyes widened in panic. She pressed closer to Ethan, her lips trembling as she whispered, Choose human. Desire or death. Trust me, or watch us burn. The circle flared once more, fire rising like a storm. And Ethan knew the struggle was no longer only against her. It was against himself. Asterisk. The chamber doors rattled under the fists of armored guards. The booming voice of the king's enforcer echoed again. End this now, princess, or we will. The alien princess stood frozen, her violet eyes fixed on Ethan, the blue fire circle. Around them roared like a living storm, its light painting their faces. The mark of bonding on their wrists pulsed violently, faster and harder, as though the ritual itself demanded completion. Ethan's breath came heavy. Sweat dripped down his neck. He could feel her heartbeat inside his chest, racing, desperate. Their bond tied them so tightly that even her fear became his. You said this ritual follows ancient law. Ethan growled, his voice rough. Then, why does it feel like it wants to kill us both? The princess's lips trembled, but she steadied herself, her voice firm. Because the law was broken long ago. The circle was sealed for centuries, forbidden even to speak of. But my father has forced it open again, Ethan frowned. Then this is madness. You're asking me to give myself to something no one understands. She stepped closer, her gown brushing against his chains, her violet eyes blazing with fire. Yes, because if I do not, I will die. And if we do not, you will die too. Do you think they will spare you, human, if I fail? The banging at the doors grew louder. Dust rained from the ceiling as the hinges strained. The guards were seconds from breaking in. Ethan clenched his fists. He wanted to shout, to resist, to run, but the bond tied him to her, and deep inside. Another feeling stirred. Something dangerous. Something he had buried for years. Desire. The princess lifted her marked wrist and pressed it against his. The glowing symbols flared so bright it hurt to look. Ethan flinched, but the moment their skin touched, a shock rushed through him. Images crashed into his mind, her childhood, her pain, her secret dreams she had never spoken aloud. And hidden beneath all of it, her longing. Ethan gasped. You, she pressed her finger against his lips before he could finish. Her eyes softened, her voice shaking. Yes, I want this too, but not for my father, not for the throne, for me. The confession hung in the air, more dangerous than any weapon. The fire circle responded, rising higher, as if her words had triggered something ancient. The vines on the walls pulsed wildly, cracks splitting through the stones. The chamber itself seemed to scream. Ethan felt his chest tighten. If we do this, there's no going back. Her lips curved into a trembling smile. There was never a way back. Suddenly the doors burst open. A flood of guards stormed in, their weapons drawn, their faces twisted with fear. But the moment they crossed the threshold, the circle of fire lashed out like a whip. Blue lightning struck them, hurling armored bodies against the walls. Their screams echoed before silence fell. Ethan's eyes widened. The circle, it's protecting us. The princess nodded, her voice low. It knows. It demands completion. But if we obey the old laws, we die. The ritual was never meant for human blood. Ethan stared at her. Then why start it? Her voice cracked. Because I believed you were different, stronger. I believed you could break the law with me. The ground shook beneath their feet. The throne cracked down the middle, chunks of stone crashing to the floor. The circle surged again, and this time Ethan felt it tearing at his chest, pulling at his very soul. The princess staggered, clutching his arm. Her voice screamed inside his head now, echoing through the bond. If we surrender fully, we will be consumed. But if we resist, the bond shatters, and they will kill us both. Ethan gritted his teeth. Then we do neither. Her eyes widened. What? He stepped closer, pressing his forehead against hers, forcing her to look at him. We don't follow their law. We make our own. The princess's breath caught, her lips parting in shock. For the first time, someone dared to say it. Break the sacred law. Defy her father. Defy the Empire. The mark on their wrists flared brighter, almost blinding. The pain surged through them both, but instead of pulling apart, Ethan gripped her. Tighter. His voice thundered in the chamber. You wanted me because I don't break, then trust me now. The princess's body trembled. Tears shimmered in her violet eyes. She closed them, pressing her marked wrist against his once more. Then let us break it together. The fire circle exploded. A wave of energy ripped through the chamber, throwing stones and guards into the air. The vines burned with blue fire, their light spreading into the palace beyond. Ethan and the princess collapsed to their knees, gasping for air. The mark on their wrists twisted, changing shape, fusing into a new symbol never seen before. Not the old law, something entirely new. The chamber fell silent. Smoke hung in the air. Outside, distant shouts echoed as the palace trembled from the blast. The princess looked at Ethan, her lips trembling, her voice barely above a whisper. Do you realize what we've done? We didn't just complete the bond. We destroyed it. We created something forbidden. Ethan's chest heaved. His body burned, but he felt alive in a way he never had before. He grinned bitterly. Good. Let them choke on their laws. The princess's eyes widened with both fear and awe. She touched the new mark on her wrist, whispering, This will change everything. But before either of them could rise, the palace horns blared, a sound of alarm. The king had heard. And now the entire empire would come for them. The horns of the palace wailed like the cry of a dying beast, their echoes shaking the very walls. Ethan staggered to his feet, the smoke still heavy in the chamber. The princess clutched her wrist, staring at the strange new mark that glowed, where the old symbol once burned. Her breath came fast, her violet eyes wide with disbelief. They had broken the ancient law. Outside, shouts rose like a storm, guards rushing through corridors, advisors screaming orders, the sound of weapons clashing as factions collided. The palace was no longer steady. It was trembling, alive with panic. Ethan looked to the shattered doorway. They're coming for us. The princess's lips trembled, but her voice was steady. Not all of them, he frowned. What do you mean? She lifted her gaze toward him, her violet eyes glowing with something sharper than fear defiance. The moment the circle exploded, they saw it. The guards, the servants, the council. Some will call it heresy, but some will call it a sign, a prophecy. Ethan's chest tightened. And which ones do we face first? As if in answer, the hallway erupted. Two groups of armored aliens clashed outside the chamber, one shouting for the king's will, the other screaming for the princess. Blades met, sparks flew. Blood splashed across the stone. The princess pulled Ethan behind a cracked pillar as a spear sliced through the doorway. The fight spilled closer, and the screams grew louder. Ethan's voice was sharp. They're killing each other for you. Her jaw tightened. No, for us. The bond has split the palace in two. Half see you as a threat, the other half as salvation. The mark on Ethan's wrist pulsed, and through it, he felt her fear-cold and sharp but also her determination. He could no longer tell where her emotions ended and his began. A soldier burst through the doorway, his blade raised. Ethan moved without thinking. His hands, once weak from chains, now burned with strength. He caught the soldier's arm and twisted, hurling the alien into the wall with a force that shocked even him. The soldier crumpled, unmoving. Ethan stared at his hands, trembling. What was that? The princess stepped forward, her eyes fixed on him. The bond. You carry my strength now, as I carry yours. Before Ethan could answer, another wave of soldiers stormed the chamber, this time bearing the king's crest. Their leader pointed his blade at the princess. Caesar, kill the human. The princess stepped in front of Ethan, her silver gown scorched but her stance unyielding. Her voice rang out, sharp as a blade. Touch him, and you defy the mark, defy the gods themselves. The soldiers hesitated, their eyes flickering to the glowing symbols on her wrist. Some lowered their blades. Others snarled in anger. The leader spat on the floor. The king says no law protects her now. She has broken the forbidden's bond. She is nothing but a traitor. Ethan's fists clenched. He could feel her pulse racing inside him, could feel the weight of her fear. But he also felt her fire, her refusal to kneel. Before the leader could strike, another squad burst into the chamber, this one without the king's crest. Their commander, a tall alien with scarred armor, raised his hand. Hold! His voice thundered over the chaos. The bond has been remade. She is not traitor, she is chosen. The room froze. Soldiers stared at one another, torn between two leaders. The princess's eyes widened. She whispered to Ethan, "It begins. Civil war." Inside my father's palace, Ethan's gut twisted. He had survived prisons and beatings, but this was different. This was war breaking out around him, and he was its spark. The scarred commander dropped to one knee before the princess. "Your Highness, the prophecy speaks of a union that would break the chains of the old blood. You have fulfilled it. We stand with you." The leader of the king's guard growled, pointing at Ethan. "Stand with her, and you stand with a human." "An animal!" The room erupted again as the factions clashed. Steel rang, fire burst from the walls as symbols shattered. Ethan grabbed the princess's hand. "We can't stay here." She nodded sharply. Together they ran through a side passage, the bond pulling them in perfect rhythm. The palace shook with the sounds of battle-shouted orders, screams of pain. The horns blaring endlessly, they raced down a dark hallway, the stone walls glowing faintly from the vines. The princess pressed her palm against the wall, and a hidden door opened. They slipped inside, the door sealing behind them. The chamber they entered was smaller, quieter, lit only by a single torch. Dust covered the shelves, filled with ancient scrolls and relics. The princess's voice was low, urgent. "This is the archive. Few know of it. Here lie the truths my father tried to bury." Ethan caught his breath, his chest heaving. Truths? About what? She turned to him, her violet eyes blazing. About the bond. About why it was forbidden. If we are to survive the chaos outside, we must know what they feared most. Ethan looked at her, the bond humming inside him like fire in his veins. He knew one thing now, whatever the king feared, whatever secrets lay hidden here, it was powerful enough to shake an empire. And they had already started to unleash it. Asterisk. The archive smelled of dust and age. Scrolls lined the stone shelves, some so old they crumbled at a touch. Strange relics sat in corners, glowing faintly with forgotten power. Ethan stood in the dim light, his chest still heaving from the run. Outside, the palace roared with chaos shouts, steel clashing, horns screaming like angry gods. The alien princess brushed her fingers across a scroll bound in silver thread. Her violet eyes burned with focus. "Here," she whispered. "The truth my father buried." Ethan stepped closer, his mark pulsing in rhythm with hers. "What truth?" She unrolled the scroll, the paper brittle. Strange symbols glowed faintly in the torchlight, but her voice trembled as she translated. The bond was not forbidden because it failed, but because it succeeded. Ethan frowned. "You're saying they feared it?" She nodded. Her hands shook as she read further. The bond was created to unite two bloodlines into one. But when it was first tried, it changed everything. Empires fell. Kings lost their thrones. Because when two become one, no chain, no law, no ruler can control them. Ethan's chest tightened. "So your father doesn't fear the bond failing. He fears it working." The princess's lips pressed into a thin line. "Yes, and now that we carry it, We are more dangerous to him than any army." The bond pulsed. Harder, and Ethan suddenly felt her fear deep inside him, as if it were his own. He reached out, gripping her wrist gently. "Then we choose. Do we run or fight?" Before she could answer, the archive doors exploded inward. Dust and scrolls flew as armored guards stormed inside. At their front stood the king himself, tall, draped in black and gold armor, his crown sharp as blades. His eyes burned with fury as he pointed a massive spear at them. "You dare defy me, daughter?" His voice thundered like an earthquake. "You break ancient law. You bind yourself to an animal, and now you hide in my walls?" The princess stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. "I did not break the law. I remade it. The bond lives again. And I will not kneel, not even to you." The king's face twisted with rage. "Then you will die with him." He thrust his spear forward, lightning erupting from its tip. Ethan moved instinctively, pulling the princess into his arms. The lightning struck the bond mark on their wrists. Instead of burning them, it absorbed into their skin, surging through their veins like fire. Ethan roared, the power flooding into him. The princess gasped, gripping his hand. "The bond is feeding us." Ethan's eyes glowed faintly, his body stronger, faster. For the first time, he was not prey in this palace. He was a weapon, the king. Snarled, "So the curse is true." He raised his spear again. "Then I will end it myself." The guards rushed forward, blades flashing. But Ethan met them head-on. He moved with speed that wasn't his, strength that wasn't human. He caught a blade in his bare hand, twisted, and shattered it. The guard fell screaming. Another lunged. But the princess raised her marked wrist, and energy burst from her palm. Throwing the soldier across the archive, they fought as one. Every move, every strike, flowed together, their bond guiding them like two halves of the same body. Ethan felt her rage burn inside him, and she felt his defiance fuel her. The king watched, his face twisting with both anger and fear. "You are no daughter of mine. You are abomination." The princess raised her chin, her violet eyes blazing. "No, father, I am free." The king roared and charged, his spear aimed at her heart. Ethan leapt in front of her, his wrist colliding with the spear tip. The bond mark exploded with light, the blast shaking the archive to its core. Scrolls burst into flames, the stone ceiling cracked, and the ground trembled. When the light faded, Ethan and the princess stood together. The king's spear shattered in pieces at their feet. The guards froze. Fear rippled through them. Some dropped their weapons. Others fled. The king staggered back, his armor scorched, his crown cracked. His voice was hoarse, but sharp. "You think this ends here? You think a broken human and a defiant daughter can rule what I built?" The princess stepped forward, her voice calm but cutting. "No, not rule. Change." The bond pulsed between them, glowing like a living flame. Ethan felt it too, the choice pressing on them like the weight of a world. If they killed the king now, the throne was theirs. If they spared him, the palace would burn in endless war. Ethan's chest heaved. He looked at her, and through the bond, he felt her question echo in his mind. Do we kill him, or defy the crown entirely? The king staggered to his knees, glaring up at them with hate burning in his eyes. The palace outside roared with battle. The fate of her people and his humanity balanced on a single decision. The princess gripped Ethan's hand tightly, her lips trembling as she whispered the words that would change everything. Choose, human, his death, or a new world. The bond flared one last time, brighter than the sun, and the story ended in silence waiting for his answer.